Discipline will literally extend your lifespan. Discipline will literally save your life. Seriously. You have a region of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or AMCC for short. And this region of the brain, it grows when you do things that you need to do that you don't necessarily want to do, or when you abstain from doing things that you want to do. This brain area shrinks when you do things, basically when you give in to the thing that you don't want to do, or when you give in to the thing that you want to do. So essentially, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex grows when you exercise discipline, and it shrinks when you don't. It shrinks when you're comfortable. The research also shows that this brain area is larger in athletes. So athletes, for obvious reasons, they have to exercise discipline a lot. So in athletes, their AMCC is bigger. And it's also observed that in obese people, their AMCC is much smaller. Why is this important? Because the AMCC is also observed to be bigger in people who live a long time. So people who have longer lifespans have a bigger anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which means people who exercise discipline often actually live longer. And that's why I say discipline will literally extend your lifespan. So it's time to stop looking at it as this thing that's so hard, that's so painful and so difficult. It's literally saving your life. It is giving you more years on this earth to carry out your mission, to reach your goals, and to be healthy while doing so. In past episodes, I talked about something that I call the force, or the resistance, or the opposition. There's an innate force in the universe that forces, pun intended, that forces us to act, whether we want to or we don't. What do I mean by that? Think about how if you don't move, if you laid in bed all day forever, you would eventually starve to death. You wouldn't work, so you would eventually get kicked out on the street, and your life would slowly turn into chaos. If you just stopped, right? You would get fat, you would get unhealthy, your muscles would atrophy. Your life would begin to turn into chaos. That is the force at work. The force forces us to act. It forces us to move. And so you have to move just to be mediocre in life. Like being mediocre actually takes a decent amount of effort because the force is always pulling you towards chaos. So now when it comes up to mastering something, mastering life, mastering yourself, mastering your emotions, your craft, you have to 2x, 5x, 10x, 100x the effort that it takes to be mediocre to outrun the force, because the force is always pulling and it's always going to be pulling. And it sounds like this negative thing, but in actuality, it is what keeps us alive. Like I said, if we don't act, we die. If we don't change, we die. If we don't adapt, we die. If I don't practice music for 2 to 3 days, I can already feel how rusty I'm getting. I can already feel the rust the moment I stop practicing. That is the force at work. And that is why we need to exercise our anterior mid-cingulate cortex, this brain region that gets bigger as we exercise discipline, gets smaller as we don't, as we remain in comfort. But another beautiful fact about this brain region is that the bigger, it's like a muscle. The bigger it gets, the easier it actually is to do hard things. It's a muscle. The bigger your biceps get, the more you can curl. You know what I'm saying? So the bigger this brain region gets, the more used to exercising discipline you get. This is why going to the gym for a long time is like, once you get a groove, it's kind of easy. But then once you stop for multiple days at a time, it feels like you lost all of your progress. And it's not necessarily that you lost all your progress. It's just you just lost a whole lot of discipline because your AMCC shrunk. So your workout feels really bad. Which is why consistency is key. So as you set out to grow your anterior mid-cingulate cortex, shout out to Dr. Andrew Huberman, by the way. This is where I got my information from. But as you set out to grow this brain region, it's very simple. When there's something that you know that you should do, but that you really don't want to do it. Like, don't even think about it, just do it. And that is when it grows. The brain region I want to specify, this brain region does not grow when you do quote unquote hard things that you actually want to do. Like, I love going to the gym now. My AMCC doesn't really grow for going to the gym most days because 90% of the time I want to go. But it does grow when I have to do hack squats because I hate hack squats. You know what I'm saying? It's not about you doing hard things that you're used to doing. It's about you doing hard things that you're not used to doing. So you have to be constantly changing, constantly evolving your discipline, because once humans are creatures of habit. Humans are creatures of habit. And if the moment, no matter whether something feels hard or easy, we will do it if we're used to doing it. So once it becomes habit, it's not actually growing your anterior mid-cingulate cortex anymore. It's about doing the thing that is uncomfortable, that you really don't want to do, that grows it. And you actually feel better when you accomplish these things. You feel not only a sense of a sense of confidence, but positivity. The endorphins get released when a human completes a hard task. This is another interesting fact from Dr. Andrew Huberman, is when it comes up to goal setting, humans actually are less likely to achieve goals that they know 100% that they can achieve. You are actually less likely to achieve things that are too easy, that you think are too easy. Isn't that interesting? That's why there's something, we all complain about how hard life is, but the science shows us that our body actually likes hard things. Our brain actually likes difficult things. This is why discipline literally extends our lifespan. It makes us live longer. This is why we're more likely to achieve harder things than easier things, because something about challenge, something about struggle, something about resistance is what makes us feel alive. and it's what keeps us alive. The moment any organism is born, is brought about into existence, it begins this process of fighting for its life. When we see the lion chasing the gazelle, we tend to feel bad for the gazelle and we want the gazelle to get away. But in this example, both parties, both animals are doing the exact same thing. They are struggling to survive. And that is what we are doing as well. The fight to survive, the fight for life, the fight for abundance is actually what keeps us healthy, alive, and happy. If you're fighting for something you believe in anyway. Because a lot of people are in situations that they don't actually want to be in, and they're forced to work hard in those situations. And that's a different thing, because as animals of consciousness, because yes, we are still animals, but as animals of consciousness, we require a little bit more mental maintenance than our other animal counterparts. But that's what we talk about here in this podcast, is purpose. Because discipline and purpose go hand in hand. But it is your purpose to survive, because that's all life wants to do the moment it comes into existence, is survive. And so you, my friend, must do everything in your power to do so. And one of those things is growing your anterior mid-cingulate cortex, my favorite brain region. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, give it a like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought about today's episode. And again, subscribe to the free email newsletter in the link in the description below. I will see you all next week. Peace out.